No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken, episode number 470. Big news day. Let's get straight into it because breaking right now, Epsom erupts as police refuse to confirm the description of a group of men who gang raped a local woman in her 20s outside the upmarket Surrey town's Methodist church on Saturday night. As local rumours grow, and this has been at least put out there by the Pink Ladies, that the perpetrators were illegal migrants.
4 migrants raped her for 2 hours. They've got them on this Pink Ladies. I'm part of the Pink Ladies.
Yeah, love the Pink
Paula.
Ladies. Yeah, I know the Pink Ladies.
They have got CCTV, but they will not release it.
Yeah. On Saturday night, a woman in her 20s was gang raped outside of a church in Epsom. There are unconfirmed reports that these perpetrators were from either the HMOs or the migrant hotels.
So that man, Danny Tomo, arranged the panicked English locals to challenge the lack of information from police. What did they do? Well, they decided to send in riot cops. What?
Sent them up down. Liverpool sent them up down. Got no hotels for 2 nights. These went up at his right side. One in front of the other.
There needs to be an instant response from the police. They are not communicating with you. They are not telling you what's going on. And for that reason, your women and your girls are scared.
So I'll reveal what Tommy Robinson and Katie Hopkins have to say, along with a major development on the ground from Epsom regarding the police. That's in my digest next. And let's be honest, Tinderbox Britain is now totally on edge with talk of road blockades over the growing fuel crisis.
People aren't happy with the fuel costs either, guys. No one's happy with the fuel costs at the minute. This is calling Keir Starmer to do something, do anything. Look at what Ireland has just achieved. Can you come along tomorrow and help out? Get this motorway down to a crawl.
And that's as TalkSport star Ali McCoist goes viral for admitting the tragic fall of Glasgow.
Yeah. Well, Glasgow was great. It's all gone now, you say.
Oh, it's not the same, mate. It's not the same. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record. It breaks your heart to walk about Glasgow. I mentioned you Sucky Hall Street or Girl Street, everything. It's such a shame. Tragedy.
Okay, so on this massive day of breaking news, couldn't have a better guest in the studio than the former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss. She is bringing the great CPAC conference to the GB in a bid to help save our disunited kingdom. And by the way, I'm going to talk about it later, but there is a discounted ticket offer for Outspoken viewers too. You can see that in the description of the video. And you have submitted your burning questions to Liz throughout the show, so we will be getting to them. But Liz, before we get to this developing situation in Epsom, I've got to talk about the huge political news which has just broken. The Guardian newspaper, of all places, revealing that Peter Mandelson never passed vetting. In fact, he failed vetting. Starmer lied multiple times. And in the past few minutes, Nigel Farage has just called on the Prime Minister to resign. Should he do so?
Well, it's pretty extraordinary, isn't it, that he has lied and lied about this, and he's been slippery. He's used the legal language. I'm sure there's some way that he's managed to justify it to himself, but it's clearly been a corrupted process that's taken place, and Mandelson should never have been appointed.
And you think Starmer lied?
Well, he obviously covered up the truth. I'm sure he's got some legalese to get out of it because this is what he does. You know, this is his entire career. He's been a lawyer who has justified appalling acts. He's defended, spent his time defending the indefensible. And I'm sure he'll just carry on doing that. And, yes, I think Starmer's a terrible prime minister, but the rot is much deeper than that. The rot is right through the Labour Party. It's right through the system. It's through the civil service.
The deep state.
It's the deep state. It's the deep state. So, yes, I mean, I would like to see Starmer leave Downing Street as soon as possible, but I absolutely fear that any alternative from the Labour Party will just be more of the same.
It's absolutely chilling. And look, we're going to have you for the entire show, so we'll get much more into the details of this story as we go. Also coming up today, Slippery Starmer in an astonishing bust-up with the Speaker of the House of Commons. This was quite something. And Elon Musk's dad says that only an idiot would believe that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. I think he's right, but we'll discuss that too. Then in the Royal Uncancelled After Show on Substack, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry called out for their appalling and twisted lies about the British royal family, social media bullying, and even Princess Diana on the latest day of their disastrous Australian tour. Lady Colin Campbell joins us with all of the latest on that. You can sign up to watch at www.outspoken.live. And Liz, you have chosen our Union Jackass nominees today. No Starmer, but you've gone for Bridget Phillipson, Andrew Bailey, and Shabana Mahmood. Why have you chosen those three?
So Bridget Phillipson is failing to implement the very clear decision by the Supreme Court that women are women and men are men.
A year ago today, you know.
Men should not be allowed in women's toilets and changing rooms. It's pretty obvious what she has to do. But she is completely in the thrall of the nutty trans activists who basically want to use this permission to spy on girls, to attack girls in toilets. It's absolutely disgusting.
And then Andrew Bailey, we know he's your nemesis at the Bank of England.
But the latest thing he has done is he said there's going to be an inflation shock because of the Iran war. He's not mentioned the fact that the Bank of England has been printing money, the money supply's massively expanded, he's been debasing the currency, which is why everybody in Britain feels poorer, why when you go into the shops or a restaurant, the bills are high, you feel it every single day, and he is completely refusing to take any responsibility. He has a target to keep inflation under 2%. He's failed and failed and failed, but no one even talks about it or holds him to account.
And Mahmood potentially for what we're about to be discussing, and Epsom.
Well, we hear all this stuff about what she might do, but we're seeing migrants cross the channel, nothing being done about it. We're seeing illegal migrants being moved to HMOs out of migrant hotels. But what's happening? We are seeing sex crimes taking place. We are seeing antisocial behaviour. We are seeing violence as a result of this. And again, she's doing nothing about the root cause, which is Tony Blair's human rights law. I'm not interested in all the excuses and posturing. What is happening in our country is a disaster.
It really is. Very worrying times, but three great choices for today's Union Jackass. You can vote right now, by the way, on Liz's nominees in the live chat on YouTube. We will bring you the worst Britain in the world today. And for a positive thing, Liz has also nominated today's Grace's Britain. We will reveal at the end of the show. Do keep your comments coming through too. Keep your super chats. We are live and we will be putting your questions to Liz as we go today. But now, let's go. Between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. on Saturday morning outside the local Methodist church in Epsom, a woman in her 20s was gang raped. Despite the presence of extensive CCTV cameras, I'm told about six CCTV cameras, more than 4 days later, there was no release of footage or even the description of the group of men responsible who locals are now convinced were illegal migrants. So last night, the upmarket Surrey town erupted as the riot police, and I can't even believe I'm saying that, the riot police were called in to deal with ordinary English folk who are furious and worried and scared and simply not prepared to take this state of affairs any longer. Britain has broken. Reported Epsom is about to blow. Thousands of people have now turned up and brought Epsom town centre to a standstill. Still no proper police, still no communication, and still no answers. They added an Epsom local woman has alleged that it was 4 migrants who raped a woman for 2 hours outside the Epsom church. The police are covering it up. This could get seriously ugly. And then this footage of a furious local woman went viral.
How do you know that?
No,
just tell me. How do you know?
Someone's told me there was 4 migrants raped her for 2 hours. They've got them on this pink ladies. I'm part of the pink ladies.
Yeah, I love the pink ladies. Yeah, I know the pink ladies.
They have got CCTV, but they will not release it.
Yeah. There you go. And she knows the family. So there we go. There's the reason why they're not telling you. Press the button.
So, according to that local, she had been told by the pink ladies that the police have CCTV but will not release it. Now, senior sources at the pink ladies have confirmed this suspicion to me today, and its leader, Orla Minihane of Restore Britain, has posted in the past hour. It's all over social media that the police have the CCTV images of the 4 men who raped the girl in Epsom on Saturday. There are 8 cameras in the church vicinity that captured the rape. They know who they are and where they are staying. It is an absolute disgrace that we are not being told what we already know. So the activist Danny Tomo decided to do something about it.
So as many of you will know, on Saturday night, a woman in her 20s was gang raped outside of a church in Epsom. There are unconfirmed reports that these perpetrators were from either the HMOs or the migrant hotels in the vicinity of this location. Since Saturday, there's virtually been no information provided to the community of Epsom or the surrounding communities about any information about who they should be looking out for when it comes to gang rapists in their community. And that speaks volumes, because I can almost guarantee you, if this was a bunch of white males that gang raped a girl outside of a church, that information would have been published very, very quickly. The reason it's now been 3 days and still no information is pretty obvious as to why. Because time and time again, this keeps happening.
It does. So Danny Tomo arrived last night and demanded that the police engage with the local natives.
Hey, when it comes to our communities, there needs to be an instant response from the police. They are not communicating with you, they are not telling you what's going on, and for that reason, your women and your girls are scared. They have sent the most vulnerable PCSO they can find to try and talk to us. Why don't they send Tommy Pierce? Where's Tommy Pierce? The borough commander that is in charge of this town. Why is Tommy Pierce not come on the internet and come onto the streets and spoken to you? Why has he not told you exactly who it is? Because they know. They knew within 12 hours exactly who did this to that girl down that road. They knew. They know right now, and they know if they let that information out, what might happen. So how long are they going to wait? They're going to allow the community tensions to absolute boiling point, which only looks like it has. We are demanding a senior police officer comes in right now and gives us an update on what is going on in this town.
Yes! Tomo was backed by Tommy Robinson and Katie Hopkins. Hopkins wrote, "God bless the people of Epsom. One of our own, gang raped by 4 monsters, and police refuse to release details to locals. The most dangerous people are those with nothing left to lose." There were very powerful speeches from local residents too.
Residents, mums, dads, grandparents. Another horrific attack here in Epsom. And it's time that the community come together to put a stop to this. We just want descriptions. We're not asking for nothing else. No one's making any assumptions. We literally just want descriptions. Right now, these women and girls do not know who they need to be looking out for. They are walking around Epsom town like normal, and so are the suspects. No one has been detained. We need someone.
But in an almost unbelievable moment of two-tier justice in slippery Starmer's Britain, riot police were deployed rather than officers to actually try and assuage the concerns, the very valid concerns of local residents. there was the type of police presence that we didn't see during this month's rioting in Clapham. But initially, things were calm.
So do you know the background of why right? And you're doing this. Your boss is a cunt and you're still here. That shows that what type of person you are. End of subject.
However, the anger soon grew. Tensions rose because of those police who were there.
Sent them off down. Liverpool had sent them off down. And I've Chelsea 2 nights. These when I'm at the right top.
The condemnation over that response was immediate. Tommy Robinson posted on X following the gang rape of a young woman outside a church in Epsom at the weekend. Days of silence from police and politicians has been deafening. Patriots hit the town tonight demanding answers, and this is how the police came out to them? Inevitable West added, look at how many riot police are deployed for these concerned parents. All of Britain backs these patriots. Reform UK's Chris Rose weighed in. So the police turned up in riot gear to a peaceful protest in Epsom following the rape of a young woman outside a church. They never did this for the Clapham looting, never for the pro-Palestine IRGC marches, where people wear face masks, two-tier policing once again. The reform-supporting barrister Stephen Barrett said, I think we need to investigate Surrey police for inciting public disorder. And GB News host Alex Armstrong raged, incredible how quickly riot police can be deployed when it's white British people peacefully protesting. Then things started to turn nasty as officers took a huge step back as the crowds moved forward and projectiles were launched.
Getting pushed back, and everyone over here, hang on, wrong button, everyone over here just took a step forward. They're taking a step back, they've took a step forward.
So nice of you to show up. I'd really like to thank you for attending today. Sorry police, if we can have more of this on a Friday, maybe you'll protect her yourself.
Look at you. Traitors! Enjoy it! Enjoy it! Enjoy your life! Come on! Traitors! Traitors!
If we've got any more concerned parents here who'd like to say a few words to my guests.
Traitors! Traitor!
Now remember, all those patriots wanted from the police was a description of the suspects who had gang raped a woman in her 20s. That is it. Yet they've been ignored and the riot police were sent in. Now, this story has been ignored by most of the MSM all week. Credit to the Daily Telegraph, though, which was the only newspaper to cover it today. They wrote hundreds of protesters have gone face-to-face with riot police in Epsom as they demand the force. Previously said a group of men had followed her after she left the nearby Labyrinth nightclub. Now, here's the critical quote from the East Surrey Chief Superintendent Mark Chapman, who said, I understand the distress and concern that this incident has caused, both for the victim herself and amongst our local communities. And I want to reassure you that we are working hard to progress this investigation. While we have already carried out extensive enquiries, we do not have sufficient information at this time to update you with the description of the suspects. I appreciate this causes increased concern, and I can assure you that we will update you with these descriptions as soon as we are able to do so. In the meantime, I would urge people not to speculate about the descriptions of these suspects, as this may lead to additional tensions within our local communities. Let me tell you, what's leading to the tension is your silence. What's leading to the speculation is your silence. And it simply cannot stand. Lauren the Insider responded, writing, "In my professional opinion, 20 years in mainstream media, the police comments and positioning of this statement read to me like key information is being deliberately withheld. Tensions are high. Anyone with a moral compass is sick of watching our women and children be thrown to the gutter by the establishment. The government can't bully patriots anymore. When key details are omitted, it's highly fucking likely a DSMA notice is in play, meaning parts of the story are stripped out under the guise of national security." But today, we have news. With tensions in Epsom continuing to rise, Danny Tomo has revealed a major development. In the past hour, he posted on X, "Now the police want to talk. Firstly, well done, and thank you to every Epsom local who showed up and stood together. Your presence made the difference. The pressure has worked. After days of silence, the gathering of residents has forced the Superintendent of Surrey Police to panic and finally agree to a face-to-face meeting this evening at 7 p.m. He will now speak directly with local Epsom residents and release the information that should have been provided days ago. This is the next stage. Stay strong. More updates to follow." Well, we will keep across this, of course, in a way you just know the MSM won't. But the problem is these types of incidents are now happening up and down our disunited kingdom. I mean, the mainstream have already moved on. From the 21-year-old middle-class film student Finbar Sullivan, who a court has now heard was surrounded and kicked on the floor before he was stabbed to death on Sadiq Khan's Primrose Hill in an eruption of extreme violence. The Daily Telegraph's heartbreaking report reads, "A film student was punched, kicked and stamped on by 7 men before being knifed to death on Primrose Hill," a court heard today. Oluwamiola Ogolo Kimu, 27, appeared at the Old Bailey charged with murder. Mr. Sullivan entered the park with a friend before he is said to have been surrounded by a group, and he was punched and pushed to the ground just after 6:30 p.m, prosecutor Zara Brawley told the court. This case involved the eruption of extreme violence in a public place in broad daylight. The suspect is accused of punching Mr. Sullivan before kicking or stamping towards his head while he was on the ground. Mr. Sullivan was then stabbed by another male at least twice, including a fatal injury to his thigh. Olagakinu is yet to enter pleas, but a provisional trial date was set for April next year. During a previous court hearing, before being taken to the cells, he said, "I didn't kill anybody, I didn't stab anybody. I've got the wrong person." And the problem is this is what's happening to our country, and it breaks my heart. It totally breaks my heart. We're not safe. The same thing has happened in Scotland, where people see the change. As Basil the Great reported, it's absolutely heartbreaking watching Ali McCoist talk about the decline in his home city of Glasgow. It's the same all over the UK. What corrupt politicians have done to our great country is appalling beyond belief. Watch this from TalkSport.
Yeah. Oh, Glasgow was great. It's all gone now, you say.
Oh, it's not the same, mate. It's not the same. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record. It breaks your heart to walk about Glasgow. I mentioned you, Sucky Hall Street or Girl Street, everything. It's such a shame. Tragedy.
And after blockades in Ireland and Northern Ireland, the first calls to block English roads began yesterday on the M1, with God Save Britain posting, "Wow, it's happening. Fuel protests have broken out in England as patriots block the N1 near Nottingham. Ireland have shown us the way." Watch.
People aren't happy, but people aren't happy with the fuel costs either, guys. No one's happy with the fuel costs at the minute. This is calling Keir Starmer to do something, do anything. Look at what Ireland has just achieved. Can you come along tomorrow and help out? Get this motorway down to a crawl. This is what people are achieving with just 4 cars. Imagine what if they had 10, 20, a couple of cars and a van, a lorry. Get your hauliers joining in. It's your fuel. It's your fuel bill as well. Don't think, oh, it's okay, the company pays it. It's your fuel bill as well, guys.
And to respond now, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Liz Truss. So, Liz, we see those scenes in Epsom. I mean, Epsom. We're talking about Surrey. And they sent the riot police, Liz. Well, they didn't send the riot police to Brazil. They didn't send the police to Clapham. This feels like some type of targeted war on the English population.
And it's after we saw similar scenes in Epping. It is one town after another. And this follows, of course, the grooming gang scandal, where people were lied to, information was deliberately suppressed. Keir Starmer, of course, was Director of Public Prosecutions at the time. We've heard from insiders in the police that they deliberately didn't prosecute cases, hid cases, forgot about cases. This has been going on for years and years. But I think what's happened is problems that just used to exist in towns in the north of England, Doncaster, Rotherham, places like that, are now spreading. And they're spreading to the home counties. And people are really seeing the impact of illegal migration on our country in a way that I think it's been there for some time. I think the police information, the being called racist, being worse than the crime of being a rapist, that's been there for years. But we're now seeing it creep up on some of the wealthiest areas in the country.
So in Epsom, right, can you think of any reason why the police would not release a description? Do you understand why people feel like there is a cover-up going on here? There were, according to the Pink Ladies, 8 CCTV cameras. There are all of these local rumours that it was for illegal migrants. I mean, Liz, we've seen how quickly they'll come out and reveal a suspect if it happens to be a white man.
Well, the answer is, of course, we know what the reason is because we've seen it play out so many times before. And this is why the public don't trust what the police are saying about they haven't yet identified the individual, because they've said that before and it wasn't true. And information has been deliberately suppressed. And we've just seen that time and time again.
And is it to try and control us?
I think that the fear of racism is incredibly embedded. I think it's been embedded in the police particularly since the Lawrence inquiry, the Macpherson report, the idea that the Met was institutionally racist. I think there's been a massive overreaction to that. I think the police have become very unaccountable. You don't see. Remember, the West Midlands Chief Constable was found to be fabricating evidence. He didn't get sacked for that. He didn't get sacked. He was allowed to retire. So I think we've ended up with and I think this is true of a lot of British institutions. There's been a takeover by the woke brigade because of all the changes, particularly Blair made. It's incredibly hard to actually hold any of these people to account. And the country is heading off a cliff. That's where we are now.
And yet what they seem most concerned about, Liz, because, I mean, we saw it after Southport too. I mean, this week we've had the Southport inquiry. Yet after that shocking attack, all Slippery Starmer wanted to talk about were the so-called rioters and this invisible far right. It's like their absolute priority always seems to be stopping unrest on the streets than actually dealing with the problem, which is causing the unrest on the streets.
You've got to... See, Keir Starmer is a human rights lawyer.
Yeah.
He's a lefty activist.
Yep.
His entire career has been about migration is fantastic. Everybody's of equal value. I believe in human rights. It's only the evil Tories or the evil capitalists that have made Britain bad. And whatever piece of evidence that emerges that shows that's not true, and actually somebody from Somalia doesn't necessarily have the same values as somebody from Surrey, he dismisses that, because that is his whole... Yep. These people are ideologically...
Well, he says that's far right. You would be far right for saying that in his world.
I think he genuinely believes it. I think he's a Marxist. He believes that he doesn't believe in Britain. He's 100%. Not a patriot. He believes in open borders. He believes in global human rights, and by that he means the human rights of criminals rather than the human rights of victims, because that's what Tony Blair's Human Rights Act did.
Rather than the human rights of his citizens, though, Liz.
But he doesn't see himself as working for the citizens of Britain.
Because he's a globalist.
Yeah, because all his life he has been defending illegal migrants, trying to keep them in the country. That's who he sees himself working for.
Liz, we've had so many amazing questions from Outspoken viewers, and I just want to get to them throughout the show, because I always say, Liz, they're so much better than me. They have better questions than me all the time. So we'll come first to Radical Optimism 69, who just has a very simple question. Will Muslims take over the UK?
Well, I think we are under serious threat from Islamism, and I've said that on many occasions. I think that's the biggest threat to Britain at present. Nothing is inevitable.
Agreed.
You can have policies that change this, but people have to understand how deep the rot is.
Yeah.
All that stuff I've just been saying about the sort of human rights lawyerism, the wokeism, that is embedded in every single institution of the British state. So even if you replace Keir Starmer, even if you replace the entire cabinet, nothing would change, because the levers were handed over to those people. They were handed over to the Supreme Court. They were handed over to the police. They were handed over to institutions like the Bank of England, who also share the same ideology. So
there's no democracy. No true democracy anymore, because the deep state are in control.
Correct.
Okay, and we've got to come to that.
But it can be changed. Of course it can be changed. And, we could stop chain immigration. We could stop people bringing in their relations. We could stop cousin marriage. We could abolish the Human Rights Act and stop people entering the country in small boats. We could do all that stuff. Nothing is impossible, but, I am generally an optimist. I am depressed about how the right has really failed to step up and create the kind of movement that is required to change our country.
On that note, Ben Fleury says, ask Liz about Tommy Robinson, and would she do an interview with him? And what does she think of the Unite the Kingdom rallies, which Tommy Robinson obviously wants to be part of this cultural movement?
I mean, Tommy Robinson has become a bogeyman that Keir Starmer, talks about, etc., etc. I think we have to focus on what actually needs to change about our country. I think we're playing into the left's hands, to be honest, if we focus on the people rather than focus on what is wrong.
Breaking right now, Keir Starmer under significant pressure. Nigel Farage, Ed Davey, and even the Greens, all calling for him to resign following the revelation that Peter Mandelson had failed his security vetting process for the role of US ambassador. The Mercian reporting that the Foreign Office decided to overrule security officials. Government officials planned to hide relevant documents. And what is becoming increasingly clear, and I'm just going to say it, is that Starmer is losing the plot. He is on the verge of some type of mental breakdown. And we saw that play out in the House of Commons yesterday. So you remember when Liz Truss was Prime Minister, or when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, the Speaker all the time used to hound them during PMQs and say, answer the question. Now, Starmer has not been answering the question for months. And so finally, there was this tiny, tiny little bit of pushback by Lindsay Hoyle in the House of Commons at PMQs. Watch this.
A week later, when she realised she'd made a massive error of judgment, she attempted the mother of all U-turns. that didn't work. So this weekend she said, when I said we should jump into the war, she said this weekend, Mr. Speaker, that what she meant, she was talking about verbal support.
Well, Prime Minister, it's Prime Minister's questions. We've got to concentrate.
But after PMQs, Starmer lost the plot. And again, there's an MSM cover-up about this because when something involves Lindsay Hoyle, there seem to be all of these weird things. But anyway, Starmer goes up, and I'm not joking. He goes like this to the chair. He punches the chair. He punches the Speaker's chair. He's almost in a fist fight with Lindsay Hoyle in the House of Commons. And this hasn't been reported on the British Bashing Corporation or Woke ITV or Sly News, but the Daily Mail got the video. Watch this.
The front benches change over. Prime Minister, it's Prime Minister's questions. We've got to concentrate. Kevin Benz.
Just answer the question. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister loves to misrepresent my position on Iran.
And the Mail actually reported some details about this punch-up, Starmer punching the Speaker's chair. I mean, imagine if another MP did that they would be disciplined. And they wrote that following the heated exchange, the PM was seen to approach Sir Lindsay's chair as he left the chamber to speak to him. One MP who witnessed the scene at close quarters said Sir Keir was clearly incensed at the Speaker. He was fuming with Lindsay, they told the Daily Mail. In a dramatic moment during the exchange, Sir Keir was even seen to whack his fist on the side of Sir Lindsay's chair. An MP told the Guido Fawkes website Lindsay stood his ground and was trying to say something back, but the PM just walked off. Hoyle's office even put out a statement last night reminding the PM to answer the questions put to him, saying the Speaker has made this point to officials at Number 10 on several occasions recently. So look, Liz, I know you can just dismiss this, right, as, oh, it's a heated moment in the chamber. But I'm sorry, it's extraordinary. Imagine if Boris Johnson had punched the Speaker's chair. It would lead every bulletin. There would be talk about this guy's mental state. I think Starmer is losing the plot. He's not coping with the pressure. Think of everything that's going on. As you've got the Ukrainian rent boy trial coming up. All of this stuff is going on. All of this pressure seems to be getting to him. Do you think that's normal? I mean, you have been under that pressure. Is it normal to punch the Speaker's chair like that?
I mean, I think he's got away with a hell of a lot in the House of Commons, and that
and
you can
outside
see,
the House of Commons too.
Quite. But you can see that even Lindsay Hoyle is getting fed up with his complete failure to actually answer anything. But I think it's very interesting the grip that Starmer has over the Labour Party. I mean, he is the most unpopular Prime Minister in history. He is hated across the country. And yet, these Labour MPs are being kept under some kind of omerta.
Because you don't think he's going to go even now?
I don't, no.
Do you think,
I don't.
Do you think he's got an anger problem?
Well, he clearly showed that today. But I think he has gone into that job thinking it's just the evil, incompetent Tories that have cocked this up. But actually, the country's in deep trouble, and it's in deep trouble because we have become a socialist state, whether that's the human rights stuff we were talking about earlier, whether it's the economic situation which is falling off a cliff, whether it's our defence, where we can't muster ships to go and defend our own bases. The country is in serious trouble.
Because of our welfare bill.
And his whole ideology is, wouldn't you have cognitive dissonance if that was your worldview? And you try, and it's actually been implemented and it's been a complete failure. That's what I think is going on. I don't think he enjoys being there. I think that's certainly true. But I think
this Mandelson situation, though, I mean, I've just been looking through it over the past hour. There are, I think, 10 different occasions, Liz, where publicly he said that due process and the vetting was followed. So, I mean, Andrew Neil is now saying that this has the potential to be massive. He says the government promised total transparency on the Mandelson affair after MPs forced it to release a batch of documents about the process, but nothing it has released reveals this startling fact. Indeed, Starmer has always insisted Mandelson was subject to security vetting carried out independently by the security services, which is an intensive exercise that gave him clearance for the role. Well, it didn't. And perhaps the most extraordinary thing in this Guardian piece is that they say that they are now, they report that the government is now considering not releasing the information that they promised to release. Look at this line, which Dan Hodges has posted. Senior government officials have been considering whether to withhold from Parliament documents that would reveal that Mandelson was not given vetting approval from security officials. So can we now just say point blank that Starmer is engaging in a massive cover-up when it comes to Mandelson?
Well, it's clearly been a cover-up. All I've seen, though, is that we thought a few months ago Starmer was in serious trouble and his grip on the parliamentary party, and Morgan McSweeney is still pulling strings despite having been sacked.
Really?
I believe so.
Well,
those people who, it's a heavily controlled party.
Well, actually, we've got questions about that. People want to know what's really going on and who's really in charge. So
I'm not sure I'm the world expert on the Labour Party.
Okay, well, I
can talk about dubious people in the Tory party.
Well, true. There's a few of those too. M. Bourne has said, Liz, who is Starmer working for? Please answer. And D. Carbs 2979 says, who controls the power of the PM? How do they control it? So there seems to be this growing sense, Liz, that we all know Starmer is in office, but he's not in power. So who is making all of these calls?
So since Tony Blair, I don't think any prime minister has really been able to exercise the kind of power you'd expect a prime minister to be able to exercise, because so much of the functions of Parliament and the executive have been taken away and they've been put in the hands of unelected judges. They've been put in the hands of the governor of the Bank of England. They've been put in the hands of the bureaucrats. Look at the Chagos Islands. That was being pushed by Foreign Office officials. Look at what's happening on migration. That's being pushed by Home Office officials. The thing about Keir Starmer is ideologically he agrees with those people. Whereas when the Conservatives were in power, Prime Minister was generally, in some cases, I mean, some of them agreed with the woke policies, but you had some pushback. Now you have a system who has got a creature of the system in charge, and they are continuing to pursue the policies they believe in, which is open borders, human rightsism, welfareism, debasing the money supply to pay for it all. And so who's in charge? It's the blob. And the blob it's not like one evil person who's sitting in a James Bond baddie style hideout.
It's a whole load of evil people.
It's a whole bunch of evil. And these are people who left a university. Universities were the first institution that were taken over by the left. They've now taken over the bureaucracy. They've taken over some of the corporations as well. You see a lot of the same philosophy, in the corporate world too. So that is what we are facing. We are facing a blob of people, and it's in their interest to keep the system going as it is, because they're making money out of it. If they're in the green energy industry or whatever, they get power out of it. So you've got 2.5 million bureaucrats in the Whitehall system who are all benefiting from increased budgets and increased power, whilst the life is sucked out of the economy. I mean, eventually this will collapse, but that's who's running it. And
are we bankrupt, or are we about to be bankrupt?
We're pretty close to the edge. I mean,
so
we have the highest.
What happens, and is this what the globalists actually want? Do they want to bankrupt us?
I believe they want to try and keep the British system going at present, because it's their people in charge. So this is why the the
so
Bank
they
of
didn't
England.
like you, and they wanted you out because you wanted to fundamentally change things.
Exactly. So what did they do? You know, the day before our budget, they announced quantitative tightening, which is selling billions of pounds worth of gilts, which set off the market reaction. And because they'd failed to regulate the pension industry, there was chaos in the markets. Subsequently, they admitted, this is the Bank of England, that 2/3 of the chaos was caused by them, but by then it was too late. So they deliberately, whereas when Labour are in power, when Rachel Reeves is in office, they are making statements about it's all the fault of the Iran war. They're printing more money so that the currency gets gradually debased. There's inflation, but there isn't the same economic pressure that I felt when I was in office.
But you think the crash is still going to come?
I think it's a question of can they keep it going? And the whole system wants to just keep the current system going. So they're spending more public money, they're printing more money, they're debasing the currency. They're going to carry on trying to do that until 2029. Now, things like the Iran war make it harder for them to do that. But I still think it's possible they could keep it going, yes. And that would be what would happen then is you get a new prime minister elected. And if it was a prime minister they didn't like, they'd then do exactly what they did to me, which is they'd start the quantitative tightening. They'd basically
So basically what you're saying is they have mechanisms if they want to subvert democracy, if they want to get rid of someone who's going to change things. By the way, you mentioned
But by the way, you look at the way the EU behaves and the European Central Bank, and it's exactly the same mechanisms that they use. Look at what they're doing with the new Hungarian prime minister. You know, if you want to release this euro money, you have to go along with all these things. It's exactly what they do.
Liz, there are a huge set of elections coming up. And even though I 100% understand that in some ways it does feel like democracy in this country is being chipped away at, people want to know what they should do because there is a big split coming on the right. I mean, look at this. Just from the past hour, a new poll has been released. And as Britain Has Broken put it, Restore Britain have just hit 9%. They say this is the fastest growing political party this country has ever seen, and we are only going to get bigger. And if you look at this poll, Liz, and you'll see Reform as a result down to 21%. The Greens tied with the Tories at 18%, Labour at 17%, Restore Britain at 9%. And according to Reform UK insiders, they have worked out that even 3% support at a general election for Restore Britain could destroy their party's chances. So what do you make of what's happened on the right? Because we haven't spoken since Rupert has actually launched Restore Britain, not as a movement. I know you met with him when it was a movement, but now that it's actually a political party, how do you feel about that? Is there a risk the right is going to be split, or is he moving the Overton window in the right way?
So I think the most important thing for the right, and this is why we are having CPAC GB, which is on the 16th to the 18th of July, featuring your show, Dan.
Yes.
And
of
you
course,
on
Outspoken viewers can get tickets as
They
well.
can get tickets. They can get a special discount.
Yes.
And there will be a lot of Dan Wootton on the stage and in the media row. So we're going to have lots of the independent media there as well. And one of the things that CPAC Britain will help do is bring together everybody, regardless of which political party they're in, regardless if they're in no political party at all. They might be a free speech campaigner. It might be somebody who cares about illegal migration and the impact it's having on our towns. It might be somebody who is bothered about the fuel price. It might be people who invest in Bitcoin because they're frustrated with a central bank debasing the currency. You know, we want to bring together all the people who are fed up with the British system. And we'll have a full day, several full days of main stage speakers talking about that. We'll bring in people from around the world, the liberty and sovereignty movements in Europe, in America. and we're going to thrash out what actually needs to be done. Because to me, people in Britain are desperate for a real change. They understand the system is broken. It's not just politics that's broken. It's our institutions. It's the civil service. It's the system of money itself is broken, and it needs to be changed. And that is what
Indeed.
I want to help achieve. Because
but for people who are saying, though, right now, okay, but there is an election next month. And there are people, look, I know a lot of Outspoken viewers were Reform UK supporters. I've been very open about the fact that I didn't vote for your party, the Conservatives, at the last election. I voted for Reform UK. And what we have been concerned about is what Elon Musk has described as the weak source approach of Reform UK. I'll just give you one example. This is just broken too. A Reform candidate has been investigated because they are part of the River to the Sea mob. This is Sajid Raja, and he was seen in footage from a Workers' Party of Britain protest yelling the phrase, which Reform members have previously called genocidal and a hate slogan. But he's been pictured with Nigel Farage, and he posted a 23-minute video on his TikTok account of him taking part in a demonstration against Israeli attacks on Gaza in June 2024, captioned, "I led a protest in Leeds today in solidarity with the people of Palestine." In the video, the Reform candidate, he's not a Green Party candidate, he's a Reform candidate, is seen at the front of the march with a Workers' Party sign reading, "For Britain, for Gaza." Raja chanted slogans, including "End Apartheid," "Israel is a terrorist state," and "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Nigel Farage has described "From the river to the sea" as a hate slogan, which calls for the abolition of the state of Israel and, frankly, the eradication of Jewish people who live there. Robert Jenrick has described it as genocidal. But I think this is actually the line in the Times article that concerned me most. Raja is best known for campaigning against the Pakistani administration of parts of Jammu and Kashmir. He founded the National Equality Party, a campaign calling for the independence of Kashmir and the surrounding regions. Liz, he is a Reform UK candidate. So they won't have someone in the party who says, "Oh, I attended the Tommy Robinson Unite the Kingdom rally," but they'll have these hard left extremists. Can you understand why people are looking at this and thinking, actually, we need a tough approach? We need the Rupert Lowe approach. Because that's where I'm at.
Well, where I'm at is none of the parties have spelt out what actually needs to change about Britain. None of the parties have. And I understand from the experience I've had how deep the rot is. Mm-hmm. And that's so I will be talking to all of the parties, and this is what CPAC is about. It's not a party event. I'm not going to sort of comment on anyone particular, but people need to understand that if we are to get rid of the terrible socialists that are in charge, it's not good enough just to vote the Labour Party out. No. That's not going to be good enough. And I worry that particularly the mainstream parties are still in the establishment mindset. They're still saying, oh, the Bank of England should be completely unaccountable. They're still saying keep the OBR. They're still saying, we don't need to change the triple lock, all this sort of stuff. People want really big change, and I think they're misreading.
Were you devastated when Robert Jenrick, who has been very critical of you, announced that? He effectively announced that Reform UK
I wasn't
was
devastated
because
I know
orthodoxy.
Exactly what Robert Jenrick's like. So
What's he like?
I wasn't surprised.
What's he like?
Well, I think when he joined Reform, I described him as a Trojan horse. I think that's pretty clear what I think.
So you think he's in it for power?
Not
changing the country.
What he's shown with the status quoism is he does not understand what needs to change about our country.
So it doesn't sound like you think that Reform. You're sort of agreeing with Musk then. It's weak sauce.
Well, what I'm
Reform
saying,
UK is weak sauce.
What I'm saying, I'm talking about the policies.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, if a political party is not prepared to abolish the OBR, isn't prepared to make the Bank of England accountable, they will not succeed in changing the country, because these are the most powerful institutions. I know we've been talking about the Home Office, we've talked about the police, but the Treasury, and I've seen it myself in government, is the most powerful. They call the shots on migration. You know, why was Boris encouraged to allow the level of migration? It was the Treasury. It wasn't the Home Office, it was the Treasury.
Because you need to bring all of these people in.
Why didn't we properly Brexit? Why did we... It was the Treasury.
But you're talking about the Boris wave, though. You're saying it was the Treasury who... The Treasury who
they're the people who are putting pressure on to... and the Office of Budget Responsibility say that if you have more migrants, that's good for the fiscal position of Britain. You know, that is the key driver.
So they're traitors.
And look...
They're traitors.
Yes, basically.
I mean, it is treacherous what they are doing.
But what I'm telling you, Dan, is where the power lies in the British government. And that's important because I don't think people quite understand.
But who would you vote for next month?
Well, I'm thinking about that.
What do you reckon?
I'm not sure I've got much choice in the particular ward I'm voting in.
because well, I was going to ask you about this. Our great friend, my great friend, your husband Hugh, is running.
He is running
as a Tory.
As a Tory. I do let him make his own independent decisions.
Really?
I'll say that.
Really?
Yes.
So, but I mean, is this the start of the next phase of the family's political career? I mean, does he want to be an MP?
I think it's unlikely that he will be elected. I hope he doesn't mind my saying that.
Yet. Okay, Liz, we've got lots of questions on this coming in from the Outspoken audience, so I want to get straight to them. Peter James Cullen says, Farage or Lowe? ? What does she think of them both? Does she know them both well? If there was no Tories, who would she vote for and why? And then he's added, and so Liz, I'm going to be very tough on you on this, he said, and Dan, don't be taking no waffling politicians' answers from her.
I was just about to give a waffling answer. I was just about to give a waffling answer.
So who? So Lowe or Farage? Because you know them both. You know them both super well. You do.
I don't know them super well, Dan.
You do.
I don't know them super well.
You were at Nigel Farage's birthday party.
That's not... Going to somebody's birthday party doesn't mean you know them super well.
And you did meet with Lowe. You met with Lowe.
What I care about is I care about the change this country needs.
Yeah.
And I would do everything I can to achieve that. And what I know from having been Prime Minister and a party leader myself is you need more than just one person. And this is why the movement is so important, is why...
Yes.
Building a movement of people that actually are prepared to back really big, tough policies that are going to challenge an establishment that has been in control of Britain for 40 years. That's how long these people have been in control.
Totally.
That's what's important to me.
No. And you know I'm with you on that. I'm absolutely with you on that.
So I'm not going to answer the question.
Well, C4B is going to try once more. And C4B asks, this is slightly different, says, hi Dan, would you ask Liz Truss if she would work for Rupert Lowe at Restore?
I'm working on CPAC. I'm working on this movement in Britain, and it's explicitly not party political. You don't have to be in a particular party. You don't have to be in a party at all. And that is what I think we need, because if you look at Trump, I think what's really exciting is the way he built a movement that had, it had people like RFK in it and the Maha Brigade. It had the tech people and Musk and those guys. It had the oil people and, the drill baby drill guys. So you created this group of people that were going to force America to change because they were so fed up of the way the country was going downhill under Biden. And that's what we need. And without sounding pious about it, I think the excessive focus on just a few people is part of Britain's problem, that we are obsessed with the people and not what needs to change.
Well, I agree with that. Is it true, though, because The Guardian has reported that Nigel Farage has said that he's not going to attend CPAC GB?
Dan, you know better than to believe what's in the
Well,
Guardian.
that's why I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you.
You can't believe that you're treating this rag.
So you think he'll be there?
This Pravda-like propaganda sheet as some kind of paper of record.
So do you think he'll be there?
We are going to be announcing the speakers very soon in a rolling way.
And
you will see in due course who is speaking at CPAC GB.
And do you hope Farage is there?
I will say you will see in due course who is speaking at CPAC GB. And the same goes for all the other people you're about to ask about.
Well, look, no, I'm not going to ask about that because actually I think it is important not to talk about individuals. And I thought this question was really important from Sheem, who says, I'd like to know how much Liz knows about the Fabian Society.
Well, I know there are quite a lot of people in the government who were part of the Fabian Society. Is the Fabian Society I think it's one of the ways that these leftist ideologies get conveyed. But I think it's more than that. I mean, I think the Soros network is a very powerful force that has actually infiltrated a lot of the corporate world. I think the World Economic Forum has proved to be a very powerful force. I think all these
dastardly force.
All these international institutions that were set up in good faith, like the United Nations, have just become cesspits of anti-Semitism and anti-colonialism and reparations merchants. You know, all of these bodies have been taken over, and underlying it is basically communism. That's what it really is. And the Fabians were always meant to be this kind of soft left. But what we are seeing is genuine infiltration of our institutions.
How Man Do asks, is it open knowledge that Starmer, Brown and Blair are part of a society that wants complete control over the public and will stop at nothing?
Yeah, it's called the Labour Party.
And they go on to ask, do you think that's why Blair amended the law so no government officials could face treason?
Well, I'm sure it is. And Blair amended the law in lots of different, quite insidious ways. So there's a law called the Constitutional Reform Act and Governance Act 2010, where Blair put the Civil Service Code, which had previously been guidance, into statutory law and made it much harder to hire and fire civil servants. And then, of course, he put all his placement into senior positions. So what he did and what Brown did over a number of years is they built up a web and they essentially rigged the state. They rigged the state in favour of their way of thinking, which is about technocracy. It's about controlling people. Not a week goes past without another excuse for ID cards. And, the pushing of ID cards, the pushing of controls on social media, on technology, they are obsessed with control. And that is now the battle in Britain. The battle is between people who believe in liberty and sovereignty and individuals being able to shape their own lives and the family and the nation state, and people who believe in a top-down managed system where you will own nothing. That's the choice.
Our audience is smart though, Liz. Very smart. Jacob.
That's why I'm on this show,
yes,
Dan.
Indeed, because Jacob writes, say, hello, Dan. I'd like to ask Liz if she ever feels it's odd that the media still make jokes about her while Gordon Brown, the man who crashed the economy in 2008 and sold off our gold at a pittance, is hardly mentioned these days. And on a similar note, PBY M79 says, on top of that, the gilt bonds being significantly higher now under Rachel from Accounts tenureship, and we don't hear a thing.
There's a reason for that.
What is it?
Because the establishment is on the side of Gordon Brown and Rachel Reeves. And the things I believe in and the way I want to see the country changed are a threat to the establishment. So I take the attacks as a sign that they are scared of me. Because why would they bother otherwise?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, of course, there is the media too, Liz, the dastardly MSM. You have the Liz Truss show. And, of course, we're here on Outspoken as well. And I want to thank Goatee1822 for the super chat, who says, in time, Dan, you can crush GB News. You have 675,000 subscribers and GBN have just over 2 million. You are one and they are many. It shows people are deserting GBN finally. Thank you, Goatee. And I was going to ask you, Liz, not specifically just about that, but it does feel like even the so-called conservative channels now don't really encourage a plurality of views. It's sort of a bit like Reform TV or Tory TV. There's not that true free speech. And I know that's one of the reasons why you launched the Liz Truss show.
So I've been on GB News and I know that they're under huge pressure from Ofcom. You know, the presenter will have in the earpiece, you know, you got to ask this question or that question because of Ofcom. It's shocking, really, that we have a media regulator peopled by, you know, former senior civil servants who have got exactly the same mentality as all of the others that I've just been talking about. They are deciding what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, which is why shows like this that are unregulated and uncensored are so important. Is why X is so important. And just within the kind of conservative media sphere, even papers like the Telegraph, I think you could just see them being quite anti-Trump, for example.
Oh, they're totally controlled.
You know, they're just, and
Why is that with Trump? Because you have stayed very loyal to Trump. I wanted to ask you, we've got the picture actually. You met him the other day golfing, I believe, because you've now taken up golf.
I was at his golf club. Yes, that's correct.
And it's true that you're one of the only people who have stayed very, very loyal to the president, even through this Iran war. I mean, we've seen George Maloney turn. We've seen Kemi Badenoch turn. We've even seen Farage, in a way, turn. Why do you think that is? Is it true that he is just too unpopular for a European politician to stay loyal to Trump?
I think we've got this problem with the media, which is they utterly and actually the foreign correspondents of the British media are even worse than the people in Britain, believe it or not. When I was foreign secretary and toured the various they seem to send their most left-wing people abroad.
100%.
And everything is through that lens. And unfortunately, people buy that. I mean, it's slightly different from the Trump topic, but this research out this week that said most Britons think that Britain is equivalent to the 7th richest state in the United States. And actually, we're poorer than Mississippi. Most people don't know that we're 40% worse off than the US because they get fed this tripe from the BBC about how there's been, 0.1% economic growth and everything's awesome.
And it's all your fault. If something's wrong, it's all your fault.
It's all my fault.
Do you know Starmer even raised you on PMQs again yesterday?
Yeah, I believe so. But
he's obsessed.
He is obsessed. But it's either my fault or it's Donald Trump or it's the Iran war or it's Brexit. Those are the four favourite excuses. And it's like...
do you support the Iran war?
I do. I support eradicating Iran's nuclear facilities. That's the important issue from my point of view. And I was there as Foreign Secretary and Prime Minister when Biden was just kicking the can down the road. And the Iranians were getting closer and closer to getting a nuclear weapon. And that is a disaster. It's difficult when you're not in it and you're not privy to all of the details of what's going on, to judge exactly whether a particular decision was the right decision. But Iran had to be confronted. They had to be confronted. Otherwise, Israel would be eradicated. You would see the influence spreading of Hezbollah, Hamas. So much of the problems in Britain are sponsored by Iran.
Are you disappointed to have seen so many people in the independent media like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens and Alex Jones turn on Trump over the war?
I think that my view on the public is they don't generally vote on foreign policy, actually. And the issues that will be most important are things like the oil price and what people are paying at the pumps. That's what's important. I think a lot of the, obviously you wouldn't do it, Dan, but I think a lot of these podcasters looking for attention and like controversy.
Never.
So
wash your mouth out, Liz.
But I think it is something quite sad. My view, it's something quite sad about the right wing in general, is that, you know, we get this success, we get Trump elected, you know, he's done
amazing
great things, you know, whether it's drill baby drill, whether it's the taxes, the booming American economy.
Free speech.
Free speech. Wouldn't you rather be in America
100%
with, you know, the booming economy and our, you know, sad stagnation island?
100%.
And it just seems to
Liz,
me that
I know it sounds
the
crazy,
right,
but
I have to finish this point, Dan. The
Please.
right almost can't take success.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's like,
because
it's like we've won. We should be building on it, not trying to destroy
I agree
the
with you on
very
that.
thing that got us there.
I agree with you on that, because even though I don't necessarily think there was a great exit strategy plan for this war, I often look at things on the whole. And I genuinely believe that if it was not for
Can you
Donald
imagine
Trump,
Kamala Harris? I mean,
100%. Well, you know, this show would not exist.
Exactly.
This show would not exist. And people need to realize that the censorship state that was coming as a result of the Democratic
And let's remember
administration.
all the people in Britain that backed Kamala Harris, like Michael Gove, the editor of Spectator. I know.
Astonishing.
Shocking.
Absolutely astonishing. The other thing, of course, which has totally gripped America and the whole world is the increasing weirdness around the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And overnight, Elon Musk's dad, Elon Musk, has joined the growing chorus of folk, which of course includes Katie Hopkins, who say you are absolutely crazy if you believe that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. The suggestion is that he could now be in Israel because he was some type of Mossad agent and was effectively swapped. The body was swapped. And while I know some people would be saying this sounds like crazy shit, actually, if you look into the files and you see what happened in the prison cell, there are serious questions to be answered. So first, let's look at Elon Musk's argument.
Epstein is not dead. There's no doubt about that. And recently, you know, they switched off all the cameras, you know, and all the recording, and then the guards went and slept and all that kind of stuff. No, he was, and some guards came now and said he was swapped out the night before. And a dead body was brought in his place. You know what I mean? No, he's not dead. I mean, there's no possibility that he's dead. Nothing, not even remotely dead, you know. So, no, he's not dead. And, you know, you'd have to be really thick to think he's dead.
Okay, but what is maybe more interesting is that at the recent Epstein hearing, where the footage from the deposition leaked, Bill Clinton, Mr. Clinton, you know, featured throughout the Epstein files, Mr. Deep State himself is no longer convinced that Epstein took his own life. Watch.
I'd like to ask you personally and directly, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
Are you asking him to speculate on how Mr. Epstein died?
I'm asking what the president thinks of...
So you're asking his opinion?
Mr. President, was your friend Jeffrey Epstein suicidal?
Are you classifying him as a friend who he has testified that he was friendly?
He has called him a friend in a letter.
He said he was friendly, but not. You've asked for his testimony.
Mr. President, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein was suicidal?
Do you know?
Was he ever suicidal?
Of your
I don't know. I only know what the medical finding was. I think maybe he finally got caught, and I don't know. I've accepted it in my own mind. I don't know what happened.
Mr. President, what did you accept? That he killed himself or that he did not?
That he did, but I don't know.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
We don't. None of us know.
None of us know. So, Liz Truss, let me just ask you the question. Is Jeffrey Epstein actually alive?
I doubt it.
Do you think he killed himself or was he taken out?
I'm not going to speculate on this. I really know very little about it. Dan.
What's your gut feeling?
I don't have a gut feeling about it.
Do you think that the Epstein files should have been released in full by the Trump administration? Because what has been so interesting to me is to see the changing approach from the administration. And it was quite a bombshell the other night when Melania Trump came out and said, actually, we've got nothing to hide. Epstein didn't set us up. We were never friends. I mean, personally, Liz, I wish she'd said all of this months and months ago before a lot of the rumours were spread. But she is now even calling for the Epstein victims to be allowed to give testimony to the Congress. I know you've been in America a lot. Do you think that there is still this desire for more and more on the Epstein files? Because previously Trump had sort of been saying we need to move on from this. So I can't really work out.
I think there is a desire. A lot of Americans were saying to me, why is it that it mainly seems to be Brits that have been held to account, such as Andrew and Peter Mandelson and Ghislaine? I don't know the inner workings of the Department of Justice or indeed really the American legal system. But clearly, people need to be held to account for this.
There's the state visit coming up, by the King. And it feels pretty important because the special relationship has really never been at such a low, given Starmer and the way Starmer has really screwed things up, I would argue, with Trump. I know there's still a personal relationship between J.D. Vance and our Deputy Prime Minister, Calamity Lammy. But it really does seem now, Liz, like Trump just cannot stand slippery Starmer.
Well, I think the Americans have worked out what Starmer is. So I think initially he presented a front and, he sort of said all these things about trade and so on. But the Iran war and the fact that he refused to allow America to use the bases that are shared bases was just extraordinary. And I think they have now woken up to exactly what he is. Also the Chagos Island issue and this kind of decolonization anti-Britishness that runs through the new left, which Starmer is part of.
So what?
I think they found him out.
So what does the King need to do? Because this is still an official. I mean, he's going on the say-so of the government. That's how it works. You know that.
It's a very sad anniversary, isn't it? 250 years that they left us.
And who's doing better? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's rather ironic, isn't it, that we're sending the King, just as they send the King away.
But he has to go, right? You tell me this, because there was a big controversy when you were Prime Minister because you didn't send the King to one of those COP summits, which I was like celebrating at the time. It is a governmental decision as to whether the King attends America for a state visit.
Yeah, but he should do. I mean, it's the year of the 250th anniversary.
So it's right for him to go.
It's right for him to go.
And can he make a difference, I guess, is what I'm saying in terms of this relationship?
Well, the reality is that it's Starmer who is... I mean, we've talked about how the deep state is driving what's happening in Britain, but the point is that we have a very anti-American, anti-Western leader in Keir Starmer. I mean, he's desperate to grease up to the EU bureaucracy, but pretty much nothing else. I don't think anything can change that now. I think that's baked in.
And when you saw Trump recently, what was his overall mood in terms of the United Kingdom?
I can't really go into what we spoke about. He was in a very positive mood, actually. We were talking about British politics and various other issues, but I think he's
Does he know the trouble
he's
we're
a great lover of Britain, and he has, he's got his golf courses in Scotland. His mother is Scottish. And he wants our country to succeed. But, the Americans are looking at us and thinking, what on earth is going on? And, one of the things that CPAC GB will do is, be talking to our international allies about how we can reverse this situation in Britain. I think Americans are pretty shocked about what's happening here.
They're horrified.
And they can see, when they come, what it's like in London, the crime. Terrible.
Well, could you believe, Liz, that Sadiq Khan, the Islamist mayor of London, his solution to the criticism of London, now we both live in London, have homes in London, and we experience this on a day-to-day basis. His solution, Liz, is just to shut down social media discussion about what he describes as disinformation and misinformation. There is a real problem.
We're living in a real life version of 1984.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the thought police. It's the suppression of what people are actually feeling and thinking. And I don't think it can go on. I think that, there will, well, maybe I'm just hoping there will be a point at which people actually start to mobilize and want to change things.
Do you think there will ever be a scenario where Peter Mandelson or indeed Andrew Mountbatten Windsor actually face trial, actually go to jail? Because, a lot of people have skepticism, Liz, about whether the British deep state would ever allow one of their own to be punished in that way. Do you have faith in this investigation?
I think, if you compare it to what's happened in America, actually the cases in Britain have progressed
further.
So I don't have any concerns about it at this stage.
When you were obviously one of the longest serving cabinet ministers. Did you have any dealings with Andrew, or was he out of the role by the time that you came in?
I only met him once, actually, which was at a dinner. This was during the golden era with China. And I was sitting, I think, next to him and diagonally opposite from President Xi. So it's a rather strange evening.
And how was he? Because David Cameron has been quoted as saying in this new book, this new book about the Trump and the presidents, and it was very full on what Cameron said, all on the record. He said that actually he had to have a conversation with the late Queen Elizabeth II because Andrew was so inappropriate at all of these events and would give really weird speeches and say very uncomfortable things. Were you aware of that?
That didn't happen on that evening.
That's good to know. That's good to know, because I was quite surprised, actually. And look, we're going to go to the final question of the day from our audience, Kelly Chambers, and it is a royal question, Liz. And Kelly asks, as Liz Truss was the last public official to meet with our late Queen, can Liz tell us anything about that meeting with our beloved Elizabeth II? And we are finding out a lot more, Liz, about just how sick Queen Elizabeth II was. I mean, there's been these new books revealing the detail of her cancer battle. But there have been some other, I think, really unfair claims suggesting that the late Queen, one of these has come from the royal author Andrew Lowney, saying that she was almost senile and doolally. But you are very clear that she was totally with it mentally when she met you that day.
Oh, very, very much so. And it was, the whole circumstances were quite odd because it was at Balmoral and it was very, very bad weather. It was driving rain. And she was physically frail, but she made a huge effort to stand up to greet me. She insisted on that. And we had a very good discussion, 20 minutes talking about all of the issues in British politics. And she's very, she's very, very sharp. I mean, she is a huge loss to our country.
Oh my God, I still feel it.
I know, it was just terrible.
Okay, but I'm so glad that you say that though, because I mean, that's categorical. You were one of the last people to meet her in a working capacity, and you were saying that mentally she was sharp.
The end, she did her duty.
Yeah.
And she wanted to do her duty.
But she was mentally agile.
Mentally completely sharp.
There was nothing in that conversation.
Sharp.
Okay,
completely sharp.
Good. No. I'm glad, because that has always been my understanding too, that it was a physical deterioration rather than anything mentally. Okay, Liz, we're going to reveal the winner of the Uni in Jackass in just one moment. But first, I just want to get to some comments. Applejack, thank you for your comment. Says, Liz, is... I'm so pissed off, Liz, that you were thrown under the bus. Applejack says you never had a chance. Cerulean Sword, who is a new member of Outspoken Plus, thank you so much, says Truss was removed by an establishment that didn't want her policies to save us. TC28 says she is right. The entire establishment and our laws need an overhaul. And Sword says power needs to be taken from these institutions and given to a government we can trust, which is Restore Britain. But Liz isn't going to go there yet. Not yet, anyway. And thank you so much to Mamia One, Great Societal Talk, Tribble, and Christy, all part of Outspoken Plus. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, a reminder of Liz's nominations today for Union Jackass: Bridget Phillipson, Andrew Bailey, and Shabana Mahmood. What a choice!
It's awful, isn't it, when you look at it? Yeah.
Is that like your nightmare dinner party, Liz? Could you think of anything worse than that? And the results are in. It's pretty clear. I don't think you're going to be happy with this. Only 6% of people going for Andrew Bailey, but maybe that's just because they don't understand how dastardly he is.
They don't understand. This is what I'm trying to explain. You know, this is the man who has devalued your currency. Yeah. This is why you're paying so much when you go to Tesco's.
Yes.
It's his fault.
Yes, it is. The runner-up with 27% of the vote is Bridget Phillipson. But today's Union Jackass, the worst Briton in the world today, it is the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, with 67% of the vote.
I mean, they're all pretty bad. I chose quite a bad lot of people there, yeah.
Yeah, but look, I think given the situation in Epsom, a lot of people are going to put the blame on that to Mahmood. So I can understand why today people have gone for her in those numbers. And Liz, we also want to end the show on a positive note. So who have you decided to be your greatest Briton today?
So I've nominated Kwasi Kwarteng.
Wow, are you friends again?
We were never not friends. We were never not friends. We were never not friends.
But he was your chancellor and you had to sack him.
He was my chancellor, yes.
You were forced by the deep state to sack him.
I was put under huge pressure to do that, yes.
So what's he done? Because I've seen he's in this big controversy with Nigel Farage. So why are you nominating him?
He's not in a controversy. He's
explain it to me.
He's running a Bitcoin company, and I think that's great. And I think
absolutely
Bitcoin is one of the things we need to take on the power of the unelected establishment, and they absolutely hate it. That's why they hate it. And when I was at the Treasury, they tried to stop it, and they tried to make Britain a hostile environment for it. And I think we should be for Bitcoin and for the Bitcoiners.
Absolutely. Well, you know why I just am loving what Kwasi's... I mean, I'm a fan of Kwasi anyway, but it's really annoyed the people who I can't stand.
Well, exactly.
Fraser Nelson and Stig Abel on Times Radio are like pulling their hair out. And I'm like, do you know what? If something's really annoying Fraser Nelson and
I didn't
Stig
even know
Abel,
that. I didn't even know
it's
that.
It's a great thing. Yeah, they had...
Yeah, I don't watch Times Radio.
Well, it was because... I don't... No, neither do I. But it was basically, they had Kwasi on and he was trying to explain why this is a good thing, and they were both just hammering him over Nigel Farage's involvement of this campaign.
He should have come on Dan Wootton Outspoken.
He should have actually.
That was the mistake he made.
I'm going to give him a little scolding. Now, Liz, this is the final opportunity. We need to tell everyone about how they can get their tickets and all of the details for CPAC GB. So what I've done is I have put a link in the live description of the show. And if you click on that link, you will get directly taken to the website where you get this massive discount, just £75 for tickets, which is a lot cheaper than some of the other options. There's also an accommodation option available on there. And can you just explain to people, Liz, when it's going to be, and just again some of the details about CPAC GB?
So it's the 16th to the 18th of July. It's going to be 2.5 days. There's going to be speakers on the main stage all day. We're going to have panel discussions. We're going to be talking about free speech. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin and the economy. We're going to be talking about immigration. We're going to be talking about national sovereignty. We're going to have some of the great free speech warriors in Britain.
And I will be there.
We're going to have some of the brilliant independent media.
Yes.
We're going to have people from the American liberty movement, from the European liberty movement. We are going to have Media Row, where you'll be able to go and watch your favourite presenters presenting live. We'll have an exhibition space. But most of all, it is about bringing together the people in our country who want real change.
Yeah.
People keep voting for change and they're ending up with different politicians in Downing Street, and it's still the same. The country is still going downhill. So we have to have real change. And that's what CPAC GB is all about.
Well, it's such an amazing event because we both went to Brisbane last year to speak at CPAC Australia. And the thing is, a lot of people in Australia are feeling really depressed because they've got this horrible, woke, hard left government with Anthony Albanese, but you came away feeling really inspired. And that's the other thing. It's just a really great, fun event where you're actually able to be with other sane people.
Correct.
Right? And
it's going to be an island of sanity, basically. It's an island of sanity.
Exactly. And I just had the best time. I had the best time. So hopefully we're going to be broadcasting Outspoken from there. I'll get to meet a whole load of you
definitely.
there. And I am just mega pumped for it. So as I say, if you just go to the description in the live chat on YouTube, or if you're listening as a podcast on Spotify, you can also find the description there. If you just click on that description, it will take you immediately through to our very special link. It is only for Outspoken viewers, and it is this discount to get the highly discounted rate of £75 tickets. So I hope that makes sense. It should make. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? That's how people do it.
Very good.
Liz Truss, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and of course now, what's your? Are you the founder of CPAC GB?
I'm the chairman of CPAC GB.
Chairman of CPAC GB. Thank you so much, and we'll be doing a lot of conversations in the run up to the event, and as Liz says, speakers and everything will be announced very soon, so we will keep you posted on that. But of course, I will be back with you tomorrow, 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Right now, though, we are heading over to Substack, www.outspoken.live, for the Royal Uncancelled After Show. Lady Colin Campbell is standing by because, goodness me, there's been this tour of Australia. I didn't even ask you about it, Liz, because I know you hate talking about these two, but the tour with Harry and Meghan has just been terrible. It's been terrible. So what we're going to do is run you through all of the details. They're saying horrible things, Liz. They're saying, that the British royal family killed Princess Diana, and Meghan Markle's saying she's the most trolled woman in the world. Honestly, it's really annoying. So if you want to hear Lady Colin Campbell's take, just head to Substack right now, www.outspoken.live. Sorry for all of that information overload, but I promise it will be worth it for you because when you're at CPAC GB, we're going to have a really great time. Of course, we are also available as a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe for free there. And most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you.